Everybody, welcome back to the Purple Friday Show, episode 214, back for a new season. Off season is coming to an end. We're getting close to preseason games. The Ravens have finally started training camp. And first of all, fellas, how's everything been? How much has EA college football taken away from your marriage at this point? It's a true test right now. EA college football has now it's been testing me. So how you guys have been, you guys ready for the season coming up and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm super good, man. I'm blessed. Obviously, NCAA hasn't come too far in between me and in regular life as of this point. I just got the game this week, so far I played like two games, but I haven't really even gotten into the nitty gritty of it yet. Um, but yeah, everything's good, man. I'm just excited for football season. Finally settling down. Not too much going on. Just at home base, just chilling, waiting on September, and even before that, ready for camp and all that stuff to get underway. So I'm just excited to be back, man.
Yeah, I just ordered today. I had to order a new PS5. I ordered the college football, so check back in like 3 weeks. We'll see where I'm at.
There you go.
See if I ruin my marriage. But yeah, life is good. Just celebrated my 1 year anniversary, so I made it one
Congrats.
year. Made it farther than a lot of y'all, so I'm excited about that. So yeah, man, life has been real good.
Yeah. So I mean, for Ravens fans, like, look, I don't know about you guys. I think it was this week or last week we finally hit that spot in the year where there's like no sports happening. It was like the U.S. men's basketball team had just finished, I think, their last game, exhibition game against Germany, and I was like looking through the TV, like, there's nothing on TV,
Hmm.
nothing. And I was just like, all right, I'm ready for football. Like it's you hit that point where it's like, all right, it's time for football to get back. So, but luckily the Ravens started training camp back up, and they show. I think Wes Moore was there. Was it yesterday? I think he was there doing high knees and whatnot. Trying, I don't know if he was trying out for a special team spot
Yeah.
or something like that. So I seen him out there. But obviously the big story everybody was talking about over the course of the last 3 days, Lamar has been. It feels like every year now, like it's an annual thing with him, especially around training camp. He gets this some I don't know if it's a food thing or something. They've never gone into detail what it is. He was there. I think he showed up the first day, and then he got sick at practice. Left. He was gone for about a day or two. Came back yesterday, but had to leave an hour into practice because he got sick again. Apparently, they said like he was. I don't know if it was like projectile. Like it was bad. Like it was bad. But he doesn't usually get this during the season. It's usually right around preseason. So I know there were some sites and like I think NBC Sports and Mike Florio, has his own has this issue with Lamar, criticizing Lamar Jackson last year during his contract negotiations and stuff. Um, everybody makes it seem like, oh, Lamar, he's not at training camp, he's not there, he's not showing up. And I'm like, Lamar's a two-time MVP. At a certain point in your career as a football player, training camp doesn't really do much for you. Like Ed Reed, towards like when he was in his prime, barely showed up for training camp. He showed up like the last 2 weeks, always saying, "I got to renegotiate my
Mhm.
contract," and then show up like the last 2 weeks of training camp. He don't like it. A lot of players don't like it, but it's the same, roughly the same offense as last year. The same characters coming back for the most part. I mean, outside of Derrick Henry, outside of Derrick Henry, as far as like people they need to bring in new, that's pretty much it. And then maybe getting used to the offensive line and things like that. But I consider this like a non-story. Like Lamar gets sick. Like he's human. We all get
Yeah.
sick. COVID's still out here. People still getting foodborne illnesses. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely that time of year. I mean, everything. They're just thirsty for a story at this point. I mean, football has been away for all this time, and any almost any football news at this point is going to pop up on the front page of whatever football show we got on TV. So the Lamar thing, it's kind of funny just because anytime there's an illness, it's a big deal. But I guess the big deal part of it is that it's happening so consistently. And like you said, it's not always during the regular season, but it does kind of happen more consistently than we've seen with other players. And initially, I always thought that, Lamar has an illness. I'm like, oh, that's just, some rest day for him. Because I mean, it has happened during the regular season, not, as crazy. He might miss a practice or two, but I think down the stretch, he did have another illness where they were like, he missed another practice, but he ended up coming back. So it does happen, and I mean, it's not like he's missing significant games or games at all from it. But it is a thing. He kind of just got to ride with it at this point. He's kind of tagged, the guy that always just randomly gets sick. I'm not concerned at this portion of the season that it's happening. We still got installs and all that kind of stuff they have to do with just getting used to the playbook. That's not something that Lamar necessarily needs to be on the field for. Obviously, you want him to get a lot of chemistry with the receivers and all the new guys that's going to be associated with the offense. But not really concerned. Hopefully, he'll be back sooner than later, and we won't have to hear about it for the rest of the season. That's that'll be best case scenario, but not highly concerned. Just I hope it's not like a obviously want to respect his privacy. It's not like a typical injury news or anything like that, but hopefully it's not like just some chronic condition that's like causing this to kind of happen every single season.
Yeah, it's like the annual Lamar sickness. I mean, some people are prone to being sick, you know. I think we know a lot of people who are like that, and it seems like that's the annual thing with Lamar. So yeah, not concerned. It's probably kind of just an inconvenience. Like this to start a training camp, he's out sick. It's like what 3.5 days he's missed.
Mhm.
So it's an inconvenience more than anything. But I mean, we're in year 2 of this offense, so it's not like he's learning a new offense. It's not like we overhauled the whole team. We've lost one receiver, so I think it's not a big harm. I think what we really want to do is just make sure he's good because I mean the man has lost a lot of weight. It's humid out here. We want to make sure he is fully good to go because his health is a priority. But other than that, I'm not worried about it. I mean, this is Lamar. He just won his MVP. We're bringing most of the team back, so I mean, no harm, no foul. I just can't wait to see him and Derrick Henry run that read option in practice.
Yeah, so I mean, Derrick Henry being out there, they've already shown some video of Lamar throwing passes on Derrick Henry out there. He's a massive human being. Obviously, we talked about the practices that they've had up at this point. Offense has kind of started slow, but that's typical of most training camps. Offense typically takes some time to, you got to get the cadences down, you got to get the rhythm down. But they said the defense, the secondary especially, is looking really good out there. They mentioned Travis Jones has been having a really good camp at this point. Um, so far, look, I mean, we haven't seen obviously, them practice or scrimmages live or even preseason games at this point. But obviously the biggest question is going to be how would that defense look under Zach Orr, especially considering you lose Mike McDonald in the all season to become head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Now Zach Orr comes in, very familiar obviously with the defense, but this will be his first year calling plays. Now with Roquan Smith obviously being there and getting the green dot, and they're bringing Eddie Jackson in from the Bears, who's also a veteran himself, I think will be able to help out that secondary as well. That since the Ravens like to run three safeties more than anybody in the league. So there was a very I think a lot of people were hoping. I know I was hoping that maybe they would get Justin Simmons. Maybe Simmons was going to come in here and play that role because he's more of a ball hawk, but obviously maybe the price point is a little too high. So I wasn't mad at Eddie Jackson side. I thought he's a solid player for them, especially with the way they run three safeties and allows Kyle Hamilton to kind of just do what he needs to do and play Kyle Hamilton football. But so far, defense looks really good. Um, I guess some questions I ask you guys real quick. The concerns you have going into the next week or two before we get to the first preseason game. We still don't really know the running back situation outside of Derrick Henry at this point. We know Keaton Mitchell is going to be down at least until week 7, week 8, hopefully at the earliest. I think they have some undrafted guys in there. There's still a possibility they go out and sign somebody before maybe by preseason game 2 or something to come in here. And then of course the offensive line with they're shuffling guys around. The only ones I think positions that are locked up at this point are Ronnie Stanley at left tackle and Tyler Linderbaum at center. Everybody else in flux. You got Ben Cleveland, you got Voorhees, who's coming off of that injury he had last year, who who they said would have been a first round draft pick had he had not got hurt before the draft a couple years ago. So there's a lot of moving parts here. I guess what I'll say is, what do you feel like is they may have to maybe go outside and get extra help versus the stuff that's already in house to fix?
I think first I guess I feel kind of like I always feel around this time of year. Like I do think that there's a couple glaring spots that we're probably gonna have to go and get some help with. The offensive line is kind of like always this unknown because we know the guys that are that were on the bench last year that are next up, whatever the case may be, but we don't know what they're actually going to show up and do. We don't know what they actually are going to get better at in the off season. So it's kind of like remains to be seen. But as like you stated, as it looks right now, it looks like we're going to need help or at least some type of security, just to shore up that line, just to have just the peace of mind going into the season that we're going to be squared away and not just kind of get bulldozed in that first week. Just not just what thinking what we have is enough. Also, you mentioned the questions with the running back room. Obviously, we shored that that starting spot up with Derrick Henry. Very, very, very excited about that. We were also very excited with Justice Hill and what we've seen from him. Throughout the season last year, outside of a couple of fumbles that we wish we would have had back, but outside of those, just productivity and what he gave us versus what we expected to get from him. We feel pretty good about that as well. But we still need, that third guy, at least until Keaton Mitchell can get healthy and come back at whatever part of the season that he's due to come back. Also, I'm starting to think I'm always going to feel like the receiver room can use improvement. All season we had to kind of look at, all of these, trade requests and things like that with Brandon Ayuk and, all of the potential moves that the Ravens could go out and make. Will they? Probably not at that position at this point, but who knows? I would love to have Brandon Ayuk. That would be a guy that I would definitely go get at the right price. So that's another piece, and I think I'm not as concerned with the secondary. I think we're going to be okay at secondary. We got a lot of guys that are healthy now. We got Eddie Jackson coming in and assist as well. Roquan, I'm not worried about the linebacker room. Whoever they're going to line up next to him, I think is going to perform well just because they're lined up next to him. Our D line, outside of Meta BK, we have extreme expectations for Dafe Owe, and Joku or whoever else is going to be on that line, but it still remains to be seen. It's one of those things where you're gonna have to show me. We're missing a lot of pieces from last season that had a lot of numbers attached to their names. Clowney, we didn't really expect a lot of productivity out of him, but he came up with double-digit sacks at the end of the year. We have a lot of sacks that we have to replace, and we have a few players who have coming on repeat seasons, and we still haven't been getting the production that we should at this point in their careers. But it looks like those guys are working hard. From what I've seen, it looks like Owe, we kind of get excited about him in the beginning of every season, but it really looks like he's putting in work. But it's going to have to translate onto the field. So I would say, in a particular order, I would say definitely the O line, the D line. I would say the running back room and probably receiver as well, which is a lot of positions, but it's that time of year.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the O line, man. I'm worried about the O line. I haven't seen any news coming out outside of falafel. They say he's not shaped like a falafel anymore. They say, I mean, he's in better shape. He's lost weight. He's been working hard in competition for the right guard spot. But there are a lot of questions regarding this offensive line. I mean, they say Ronnie Stanley is the healthiest he's been in years. I got to see it, man, because we know how the hardball talk and the Ravens talk can be. It's very misleading. Can't really trust it. So I got to see it. But my concern is the offensive line. The running back room, it's looked like the running backs have been pretty solid that have been there. Like Henry has been doing his thing. I've seen highlights of him making some great catches. They've been cooking Trent Simpson, all the running backs. I don't know.
Mhm.
Trent Simpson's been getting cooked by these running backs. But they said Ali's look good, catching the ball at the backfield. Justice Hill's been looking like Justice Hill. So I'm not concerned about the running backs. I was concerned about these pass rushers, but they said they had to tell Owe to back up off the quarterback. So I don't
Right, I heard
know.
about
About to have a
that.
Matabuke year. I mean, should I put my trust in Owe? Is he going to graduate from almost to all the time? That's to be seen. But I'm starting to get confidence. They said Ajabo's look good, that he lost some weight. So I'm very interested in our D line / our edge rushers. I'm really excited about the secondary. They said the defense has been playing fast
Yeah,
all training camp, and they're moving, and there's just so much depth. They're talking about they might go dime this year because they can move guys here and there, and Wiggins has been looking good. They said Jalen Armour Davis has been looking good. I mean, he always looks good in training camp.
right.
Gotta stay healthy.
Even though they're talking about Pepe may be out of here.
But
But
TJ
I'm not.
Tampa, man, TJ
Yeah,
Tampa's about to take that spot.
yeah, I'm not really worried about the defense. I think it's going to come down to the O line. I mean, Bateman's been looking good. They were hyping up his rain performance. So I'm feeling real confident in this team right now. I don't have a reason to doubt, but I need more time. It's like a to be continued for me. The offensive line, number one concern.
Yeah, it was funny because it was like on some of the shows they were mentioning, you could tell, someone when they talk about the Ravens, that you clearly they're looking at stats. They didn't watch the actual games because everybody's been harping on. I can't. It irks me every time they bring up. Oh, man, the Ravens lost Geno Stone, who led the team in interceptions, and it's just like he wasn't Ed Reed out there. Like y'all gotta understand.
That was the first 7 weeks of the season. He literally did
Yeah,
nothing when Marcus
Nothing.
Williams came back.
and then he ended up
Right.
on the bench.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So they were like, but they keep harping. Oh man, they lost Geno Stone, and the one thing I think when they brought up Jadeveon Clowney, I'm like, that was the one loss. I think a lot of the Ravens fans we wanted to see him here for another performance at power position. But I think Travis, like you were saying, they said this towards the end of last year that they were moving him more so, realizing he's not necessarily like outside, off the ball linebacker kind of rusher. He needs to put his hand in the ground. He's better at power, and they need to kind of just like, what, maybe playing that Clowney position is probably the best spot for you instead of playing what Ojabo is going to be on the outside. So if Ojabo can be that off-ball guy like a Terrell Suggs type player, and maybe you can have Owe play like that Paul Kruger / what's his name, JJ Johnson that we used to have, playing that kind of playing the inside, playing the run and stuff like that. And Matabike having another, hopefully, they always say that year after the big money comes in, a lot of guys take usually a step down. Hopefully he continues his production. And it's like if you got guys like Travis Jones also still playing well and stepping up now. All things considered, when you talk about coordinators and what they got to work with, Zach Orr has more than enough to work with. And even I think it's going to be interesting in preseason. They're gonna know what they got in Marlon. They're gonna know what they got in even Stevens. I think Brandon Stevens now at this point, Marcus, guys like Eddie Jackson. This is gonna be interesting to see the guys like Tampa, Armour Davis, those guys, to kind of get them, see how they look on the field in preseason. How much depth they're gonna have. It's gonna be they're gonna be some guys I think get cut from this team in preseason that might land somewhere else on somebody else's squad at the beginning of the season. But as we know, the Ravens signing guys obviously isn't over because after that first game or after that second game in the preseason, there are going to be cuts. And I'm pretty sure there are guys the Ravens are looking at that could potentially come over here and, help them out as well. And yeah, all things considered, I think like you guys, the offensive line is probably my biggest concern. Guys like Bakhtiari is still out there. The former Green Bay Packers left tackle. He is still out there. There's a couple guys still out there. They're not necessarily like world beaters or anything, but I mean, they're serviceable guys if they need somebody in a pinch. I think the biggest issue for them is when you fill in that right tackle spot. Who does it? And I know some people were saying, well, maybe it could be Makari, but I'm like, Makari's worth is that he can play every position. They want him to be available if somebody gets hurt. They don't want him playing all the time because now they can't use it. So it's like Makari's best availability is that he's able to play each position well enough to get them to the next, side of, guy getting hurt or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, like anybody else, like any other training camp, there are guys that, the Chiefs talking about Xavier Worthy already, the Mahomes Worthy connection. They're already talking about that. There are fights happening. Travis Kelce already started to get in fights with the defense. They showed the Colts training camp with Anthony Richardson out there and stuff. So, look, again, I think it's because, like you guys said, there's no games on, right? There's nothing to actually see, and it's of substance. So everybody's good. Everybody's doing. Oh, they're doing great. They're doing well. We'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely have to wait and see. Move on to the next subject real quick. So, Trey, I know you posted a photo from I think USA Today that showed their rankings, I guess you want to say, or what their projection of the playoffs is going to be. And I just kind of wanted to go through that real quick. So they had, so I can pull it up here. Let's see.
Yeah, I was looking for the post too. I couldn't find it.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
I think
so
Travis,
they had the
Travis
Chiefs.
posted it. Yeah.
They had the Chiefs at the first seed. So the AFC side, Chiefs the first seed. They had the Jets at 12-5 as a second seed. The Colts were 11-6 with the third. Bengals 11-6 with the fourth. The Bills 10-7 with the fifth seed. The Jaguars 10-7 with the sixth seed, and then the Browns. So obviously the Ravens and Steelers are out of it. Notable teams that are not in it. Texans 9-8, not in the playoffs. Bills, I said they made it. The Dolphins are 8-9, not in the playoffs. And on the NFC side, they had the 49ers at the 1 seed, Packers at the 2, Eagles at 3, Falcons. Well, it's the NFC South. Yeah, at the 4 seed, 5 seed the Lions, 6 seed the Rams. They had the Cowboys out of it. The Bears at 9-8, making the playoffs. Bucks not making the playoffs. Seahawks at 5-12, which I thought was kind of. I guess they're saying because a rookie head coach, first-year head coach. I'm like, they have a little too much talent to be that bad. So I was kind of go through this. I felt like this list was egregious, but I just felt like this needed to be
very egregious.
So there's clearly a media bias to want the Jets to be in the. They want not necessarily in the playoffs. They want the Jets to be at least in the AFC Championship game. How real do you guys think that is? Considering Aaron Rodgers has been on purpose not showing up to anything mandatory for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Hassan Reddick, I don't even think has stepped foot in the building in New York. I don't think since they've traded him that he has stepped foot in the building. They mentioned Robert Saleh, that he hasn't talked to Hassan Reddick. This is a guy they traded for who wasn't going to get paid in Philly. Philly said, we're not going to pay you the money you want, but we think you can go somewhere else and get your money. Usually with how this works is a team has already worked out a deal even before the trades even happen. Because usually when guys get traded like that, within 48 hours, they signed a 3-year, 4-year deal with the new team, and they're moving on. He hasn't signed anything. I don't think he's seen the owner. I don't think he's seen the GM. But everybody still, as of right now, with all this stuff happening around the Jets, still think that they're going to be in the AFC Championship game. Aaron Rodgers has played 4 snaps for the Jets. How real do you guys actually think this is? The Jets 12-5 AFC Championship win.
If the Jets make the playoffs, it won't be at no 12-5. I can say that right now. And this list is juiced up. It was like, obviously some Aaron Rodgers favoritism here. The only team I got them even being better than in this would be the Patriots. The Bills, I don't see the Bills falling all the way off. Like they're kind of fine at the spot that they're at, but I think it's going to be between probably Miami and the Bills, like it was last year. But the Jets, Aaron Rodgers got to show me something. He literally didn't play all of last season. We still don't know what we're going to get with him, and they got a whole bunch of other unknowns as well. I mean, they should be good. There was a lot of excitement around them last season before Aaron Rodgers went down. But the fact is, we don't know what that rehab looked like. We don't know what type of spiritual juju Aaron Rodgers put on his injury in off season because that's just what he's on. But yeah, I don't buy. Are we talking about the whole list or just the Jets? Because I was
We
just
go the whole list. Yeah, the whole list. Yeah,
all
we go
right.
the whole list.
So the entire thing is pretty egregious. I mean, there's maybe the AFC West is the only thing that looks like almost respectable. I think the AFC is more egregious actually than the NFC is. NFC is egregious too, but the AFC is a lot more egregious. I think the fact that for the AFC North that they even have a scenario where the Ravens and Steelers both are not making the playoffs is already a bad list. In my opinion, is one of those guys to me are always going to be there, whether it's us or them. Obviously, more so deservingly, I think us this season. Bengals and the Browns. The Browns, I don't know what the Browns have showed to tell you that they're going to be better than the Bengals. I'm sorry, be better than the Ravens and the Steelers. I just haven't seen enough at that point. That's pretty ridiculous. The AFC South, this is probably the most egregious part outside of the Ravens not making the playoffs is the Texans not making the playoffs. I think those are the two most egregious points here. Titans, they're still working on, they're working with Will Levis. So, it's not like, they're still, still got a young QB, but Anthony Richardson, he didn't necessarily finish a year either. So we kind of don't know what we have fully with Anthony Richardson yet. However, I think he'll do well. And they did re-sign the running back with Jonathan Taylor.
Stewart,
so
Stewart,
John, is it Stewart or Taylor? Which one?
Taylor.
John
I'm
Taylor.
thinking about the Jags over running
back. Yeah. Same division. So I'm like, but yeah, so they re-signed, so that looks good, but I don't got the Colts winning the division. I got the Texans winning this division by a landslide almost. I mean, they just have way too much talent on that team. CJ Stroud is just what he had to deal with last season to get where he got. I mean, he was injured, came back. He lost Tank Dell, like a whole lot of adversity, and then he still, looked phenomenal. I mean, if he didn't go down, he's probably getting an MVP over Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it a buck. So yeah, I had the Texans probably winning that division. Maybe Trevor Lawrence. It's kind of like the same story every year. We just don't know what he's going to do in the clutch. And the Titans, I'm not super upset between them and the Colts fighting it out for the last couple spots. And we already talked about the AFC East. As far as the NFC, I'll just go over that one quickly because I care a little bit less. But Niners obviously is fine. I do think that the Lions might have something to say about that one seed. I'm sorry, about winning that division in NFC North. With the Packers and the Bears, I don't know if I see them missing the playoffs either. But I'm not like super upset with the NFC North. I think I'll flip the Lions for the Packers though. The Bears and the Packers is probably going to be closer than the Lions and the Packers, honestly. And NFC South. Toss up. It's really a toss up. I like
between those three teams. It's literally one game. It's literally one game. So
it's a toss up. I'm not mad at at this point. Whoever you like the best, you can arrange that. And for that Eagles division, you can leave it the way it is. I'm not mad. I'm not upset at that. That looks perfectly fine too. Giants. I'm not really sure what the heck they're going to be this year. They lost Saquon in the offseason to the Eagles, which Eagles are not going to get worse with Saquon. So I'm not mad at them being at the top of that division either. So, like I said, egregious list, top to bottom, but a little bit less egregious in the NFC. A lot more egregious in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not even going to talk about the NFC because it's like pretty realistic. But that AFC, like, reminds me of that Jay-Z line where he was like, do you even listen to music or do you just skim through it? Because, like, it felt like whoever came up with this list just, like, watches stats, doesn't even watch the games, hasn't watched the offseason transactions, doesn't know what these rosters look like. Because I'm just baffled at the fact that, granted, like, I have my feelings about Josh Allen. I have my feelings about Tua. But you're telling me and Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles injury, not going to practices, probably high off shrooms, is going 12-5, taking this Jets team to the Super Bowl. You got to be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me, right? I mean, everything else, like the Texans, like that's egregious. I mean, you had a possible rookie of the year that has now been demoted to your number 3 receiver because of the talent. You now have Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell as your receiving core, and you're expecting them to do worse. I don't see it. I don't see it. And then, like, when I look at the AFC North, I mean, how are you really putting the Browns above us? They still have Deshaun Massage Me Up Watson as their quarterback. You know what I mean? Like,
Sign me up.
they have so little faith in Deshaun Watson. They went and signed our backup to be their number 3. They went and signed Jameis Winston to be their number 2. They don't have any faith. I don't have any faith in their quarterback situation. And the Bengals, I mean, when your quarterback comes in looking like Eminem, like,
Slim
I don't know.
Shady.
Saw that.
I don't know, man. It's the death of Slim Shady, man.
Slim Burrow.
You got to stay healthy too.
Yeah, I mean, the only semi-realistic projection is maybe the AFC West, even though I think the Raiders are better than 6-11. That's probably the closest thing to realistic, I would say. But the rest of this is just egregious. Like, I don't know who is this writer. I just don't know what he's seeing. I mean, to put the Ravens at missing the playoffs, when you see the moves we made, I mean, the only concern for me is the offensive line. But you have the reigning MVP with a former 2,000-yard rusher, and you're going to have us missing the playoffs. I just think that's crazy. Lamar Jackson's only missed the playoffs once in his career. Once.
That's what I'm saying. As a starter, like, I mean, come on. Like, as a starter, if Lamar's played the whole season, the Ravens make the playoffs. Like, it's just even some of the analysts think it's a guarantee now. If Lamar plays the whole season, the Ravens make the playoffs. Like, he has one of the best winning percentages. They said he has one, as of right now, has one of the best. Tom Brady has the best winning percentage right now in his career. Lamar is second right now, right behind him.
Yeah, man, you gotta be a freaking idiot to have the Ravens missing the playoffs.
Yeah, Lamar being healthy is like, it's everybody knows that's the as far as plus identifier for any team. Yeah, Lamar makes the playoffs. Yeah, the Dolphins going from 11 wins last year to 8-9, that was egregious to me. Considering they still got Tariq Hill, you still got Jalen Waddle. They added Odell for whatever that is worth, but they got all the speed they have on that offense. You already know they're going to be, by the time they hit November or whatever, they're going to be 7-8 games. So they're going to easily be able to win, some of those games. And the Jets going 12-5, considering this team, like I said, we haven't seen this team looks like even past one game with Aaron Rodgers. All this stuff that is happening outside carries over into the season. This isn't Madden. This isn't a digital simulation and stuff. This is real life. I'm pretty sure there are guys in camp right now feel some type of way. It's like, we were here in mini camp, we were here doing all this, and he's off in Egypt somewhere. I have a previous Egypt trip that I have to go on that I can't reschedule, so I have to be there. Meanwhile, we're in camp, working and stuff. Look, Robert Saleh. It's very clear to me that the Jets. Also, was it Woody Johnson? I think is the GM. I think he's the general manager. This is it for him. This is it. Because if this Aaron thing don't work out this year, it's a wrap. It's done. Especially if they don't make the playoffs, like, it's going to be a wrap. Like, anything less than the playoffs right now, with everything they gave up to get him, sign him to the money, you still have a star edge rusher sitting there, not paid, and training camp has started. I don't know if they're going to pay this man at this point. I don't know. You look at the Cowboy situation. CeeDee Lamb is now apparently showing a video of him working out in Houston, of all places. He's working out in Houston down the street where the Texans practice, so he's trying to send a message to Dallas right now. Look, yes, NFC South. The only I guess I give it to the Bucs right now, just because they have continuity. They got Bring Baker back. You still got Mike Evans there. Like, that continuity there, I think, will work out. Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I don't know how that's going to pan out. The NFC North, and I actually think the NFC North, NFC West, and the AFC North especially will be a lot more competitive than people are going to get credit for. AFC North is always competitive. We know if Burrow's healthy, if Lamar is healthy, and the Browns. I'm not going to say the Browns offense, but the Browns defense are good enough to make things a little bit hectic in there, especially around November, December. The NFC West is interesting for the simple fact that we thought the Rams were going to take a huge drop off, and then they find Puka Nakua out of nowhere. They get him. You still got Cup there. Matthew Stafford still throwing the football. They're starting to make a resurgence back. The Cardinals will be interesting. Now they got Marvin Harrison Jr. They got to bring Colin Murray back for a full season, so they're going to be interesting to see. And I don't think the Seahawks are going to be bad as 5-12. 5-12. I don't think they're going to be bad at 5-12. I think they're going to be. I'm not saying it'll be a playoff team, but I think they're going to be contending well into December, and maybe one of those last couple of games they get knocked out. But I don't think it'll be 5-12 bad. The 49ers, on the other hand, as good as they are with the Brandon Ayuk stuff, I think they'll be fine because I think they showed last year when Debo was hurt and when Trent Williams was hurt was when they stunk. When Trent Williams was out of the game and Debo was out of the game, they didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
When Brandon Ayuk and that was the thing I think they saw when we lost Debo and Trent for those 2 games, we lost. We had Ayuk out there, we still lost. When Debo and Trent came back, we won. So they're looking at it like, I know you want this money and everything, but even if we lose you, we'll be fine. And I think they did. They drafted a wide receiver in this past draft. So I'm like, they'll hold out. They got another year of him. They could tag him, I think, for the next year or 2. They could tag him, I think, this year, and I think they can tag him next year if they need to. So I don't think they're going to move on from unless the right deal comes about. And at this late in the game and training camp, I don't think everybody's salary cap that as tight as it is at this point. I don't think anybody's going to make any moves for long-term extensions for Brett Ayuk at this point. So yeah, I'm Super Bowl, and they had to just win the Super Bowl against the Packers. I'm like, yeah, no, this list is
it's a nasty list. Nasty list.
Yeah, it's guys are guys are going to get hurt in training camp. Something's going to happen. But I just wanted to do that real quick and go over that. So let's talk about this AFC North check-in. So start with the Steelers. We'll start off with the Steelers. They had an interview with Mike Tomlin yesterday, and they asked him about the snaps of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and he gave the political answers. Like, we're not moving off our spot. It is what it is. Russell is the guy. They showed, I think, a clip of Justin Fields throwing a bomb touchdown today or whatever. So, of course, you're going to hype it up, whatever. Is there – first, I guess we ask this other thing. So Patrick Queen apparently is not going to have the green dot in Pittsburgh. It's going to be another guy. So he doesn't have the same role that I think I don't know if he knew this going in already, but he's not going to have the same role or the role he thought he was going to have in Pittsburgh. He's going to have pretty much the same role he had here in Baltimore, where he's going to be off the ball linebacker, pretty much blitzing. He's not going to be calling plays or anything. And look, I think a lot of things for the Steelers is really dependent on what happens with Russell Wilson. Cam Hayward is getting up there in age. They've already talked about him possibly being a camp cut because of money and his contract situation. He could be a camp cut because they have some younger guys or whatever, and they may replace him. You still got the running back, what's his name, Harris. You got who he's going into year 4 this year. I don't think they're going to pick up his. I don't think they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. He's become like a Gus type. He can get you 4 or 5 yards, but he's not as explosive, I think, as they thought he was going to be. That's more of what Warren's been able to do with them lately. What's going to happen with Pickens? What's Pickens has been an enigma for the last 3 years now. Like he's had these games where he's blown up, and then for the next 4 or 5 games he disappears. Is it the offense? What is Arthur Smith going to do? They give him a lot of credit as offensive coordinator. He wasn't that great of a head coach, but they've given us a lot of hype now as the offensive coordinator for this offense. They have a lot of weapons. They only have a lot of weapons. T.J. Watt, he was relatively healthy most of the year last year, but we know he has a groin problem. He has an issue where when guys, especially when they start tearing their groin, it becomes like a career-long issue. A lot of people are hyping up the Steelers to win this division this year. A lot of people. Do you believe the hype? Do you believe the Steelers can actually contend with the Ravens this year as far as being AFC North division winners?
As far as being winners, no, I don't think so. I think can they contend? Yeah, they're always. I feel like they're always going to contend no matter what the makeup is. Just based on just the spirit of our rivalry, and sometimes we've had really good teams and sometimes they've had really good teams, and the game's always going to be what the game is. But I don't think they got enough to contend if we're just talking about you know rosters in general. You brought up Patrick Queen not being the guy over there. I mean, maybe he did expect that, but Patrick Queen was brought to Pittsburgh to help them. He wasn't brought over there to be the guy. Just like when he was with us, we didn't bring Roquan Smith over here to help Patrick Queen. We brought Roquan to be the guy for Patrick Queen to assist in that. So if that's what he thought he was going over there to do, then that's unfortunate. But I think he'll still have a pretty good impact alongside whoever he's playing next to. But outside of that, defensively, I feel like they're going to be. I feel like they're probably going to be legit defensively. I mean, they didn't really have too many issues, especially when T.J. Watt is on the field. If he can stay healthy, then obviously, it's always going to be a game because T.J. Watt, out of their entire team, T.J. Watt is the game wrecker on that team. I mean, he's going to make and break a winner or a loss for those guys. So if he's healthy, Pittsburgh is always going to have a shot. Offensively, I mean, they've been in so much flux. Just at QB and figuring out who's going to be their guy is going to look a lot different, I think, with Russell back there. And that might be really really beneficial for guys like George Pickens, who like you said, some games he goes off, and some games not so much. But I think that did have something to do with just the inconsistency of the quarterback and their quarterback play of who they've had to kind of funnel through throughout last season. So I don't put it all on George Pickens because what we've seen tells us everything we need to know that of what he can produce consistently. They just haven't really been put in position to do that. And remember, they also just moved off of a horrible offensive coordinator prior to that. So it's a bunch of moving things for them. But I do think it's going to take a little bit of time for them to be true contenders. I just don't see them, being better than the Ravens, who, we didn't really have too much. We didn't have too much turnover. Well, should I say significant turnover in key players that, some of our other teams around us have had. So I do think they'll be decent. The record, like for that, that stupid USA Today article, the record that he had him at, they had him at like 9-8. I wouldn't be surprised if they went like 10-7 though. I don't think they're going to be bad. I don't. They might not be last. It might still be the Browns dead last in that division, but I don't see them contending with Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't know why people are picking Pittsburgh to contend, man. It's I don't see it. Like I'm looking at their roster. Who am I supposed to be scared of on this offense besides George Pickens? Van Jefferson? Roman Wilson? Y'all really want Najee Harris? Najee Harris. He's not a game-changing back. Um, I mean, there's nothing to be scared of this offense. I'm not scared of Russell Wilson. I'm not scared of Pat Freiermuth.
Fire,
Freiermuth or whatever.
fire,
Freiermuth, I don't know. Mothballs, I don't know.
mothballs.
I don't know. There's nothing to be scared of. I mean, their defense, they have some players. I mean, they got T.J. Watt. They got Patrick Queen. They got Minka Fitzpatrick, but they also got Deshaun Elliott, like starting. Yeah. So, I mean, they have a lot of holes, man. And pause. But like overall, like I'm not scared of this team. For them to add Russell Wilson is a good play after the season they had last year, and Mike Tomlin is always a solid coach. I mean, but I still see them as a 8-9, 9-8 type of team. I don't see them contending for the AFC North. I think they're an average team, and they're going to get average results. You know, 1-on-1 with the Ravens, I don't see their offense doing a lot against us. They just don't have the firepower. They don't have that steam. I'd be shocked if they contend. I'd be honestly shocked and bamboozled if they were to be able to contend. I just think they just don't have it offensively, and I think they'll have a solid defense, but I don't see them as a top tier defense. So I think like the Pittsburgh hype that I'm seeing, or maybe it's just USA Today, just because they're asinine, but I just don't see it. They don't have the firepower or talent offensively to contend.
Yeah, like, I agree with you guys, but at the same time, the Ravens have lost the last 7 games against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So at some point, we got to see it from the Ravens. Like we know, like the Ravens can win games outside of Pittsburgh, and get a better record. But I would love, I need the Ravens to just go ahead and like y'all got to win some games
I
because
need,
as much as I know Ravens fans, we are upset that the Ravens aren't beating the Steelers right now. Steelers fans aren't necessarily happy what's going on in Pittsburgh because even with Russell Wilson getting there, there's not like a lot of hype around Russell because of what he did in Denver. He did last year wasn't terrible for him. He did look better. Um, but a lot of people are not expecting him to go back to those Pro Bowl years he had in Seattle. What is he really going to do? How he's going to turn this offense around? At quarterback. And I think a lot of people, fans and some others, around Pittsburgh, not liking the fact that, they're hovering around this 9-8, 10-7, whatever it is record. And yeah, we got a winning record, but we're not making the playoffs. As much as Steeler fans like to be like, oh yeah, we beat you guys the last 7 times. I'm like, yeah, we played in the AFC Championship game last year. Where were y'all? At home. Y'all didn't even play with a wild card weekend. Like, where have y'all been in the playoffs? So it's like,
yeah.
there's still a lot of pressure on Tomlin this year. Still a lot of pressure on him because getting this above 500 record is fine. That's fine if you're the Cardinals. That's fine if you're a team like the Jaguars. Or a team like maybe the Giants, the those kind of teams, the Titans. They'll be happy to have a 9-8 record this year. What's something to look forward to. But if you're the Steelers, you're considered like, the Celtics and the Lakers and the Dodgers, and you're like, we expect to be in the playoffs with a chance to win a championship every year that we had, especially with this defense that we have with TJ Watt. And the longer this goes, the more that shorter that window gets. There is a window. And the question is with Russ signed to was a 1-year deal or 2-year deal that he's got there on minimum money. And you got Justin Fields as a backup, but they're not even sure he's going to be a competent backup going forward. They're kind of a similar situation the Jets are. It's Super Bowl or bust for them at this point. Either we win one in the next 2 years, or we're going to have to start all the way over. And you can see a guy like T.J. Watt possibly get moved somewhere because they're going to need draft capital to start something to start over. Where it's like you don't have Russ, you don't really trust Justin Fields going forward, so now you got to find another quarterback. And you're not finding the Lamar Jacksons at the bottom of the first round like that anymore. You're just not. So it's going to be interesting to see this year how the Steelers pan out. And again, I just feel like guys like Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh just feel they don't fit the cities that they're playing. They just don't. Like Russell Wilson, like Pittsburgh is a blue collar town, greedy town. And then here comes Russ, with a supermodel wife in Sierra and everything. And, they're coming into Pittsburgh and it gets cold there and everything. It's not like Seattle where it's the rain. Like it gets cold, it gets windy. It's the grinding of football games. He's going to have to show a level of toughness that he probably hasn't had to show before. And especially in November, December, where, guys like Ben Roethlisberger, who has his own podcast and stuff there, who talks about the Steelers, during the season, is going to probably make some comments, I'm pretty sure. And there's going to come a couple of times, I think, and even before they see the Ravens, where people are like, I don't know if Russ is really cut out for this. I don't know if Russ is really here. How this offense is going to look with Arthur Smith there as offensive coordinator and stuff. We've seen now, at some point during the season, the wide receiver room is going to start throwing a fit. They do it every year. At some point, the wide receiver room throws a fit. It just does. I don't know what it is about the Steelers, but at some point, week 8, week 9, somebody's going to throw a fit. Where they're not getting the ball, it could cause some tension, cause some issues. So I I know they made it seem like Russ is coming there, and it feels like he's. I wouldn't even say a leader on the team. Like he's the quarterback, but it feels like this is T.J. Watt's team. It's not even Russell's team. Like he's kind of just here. And that's kind of the feeling I get there. It's like he's a bridge. Like we're not even going to invest fully into him as a fan base, as an organization. He's here until hopefully he can maybe get us over the hump and get us at least into the playoffs, or maybe we can make a splash there. But considering you still got the Bills, the Texans are going to get better. The Ravens are still there. The Browns are still there. If the Bengals are healthy, I just don't see if the Bengals are healthy and the Ravens are healthy and the Browns are healthy. I just don't see that it's going to be enough for the Steelers to get over that hump. Especially, I would have to say as of right now, Russ is the fourth best quarterback in this division. Right now, he's the fourth best quarterback in this division, and I just don't think with the defense that those other three teams had, including the Ravens, that they're going to have enough wins to get to that playoff level as a wild card. And you look at the Chargers could make a splash with John Harbaugh. With Jim Harbaugh there. We don't know what the Chargers are going to do. They're a wild card. The Jaguars, what they're going to do. So the Colts are another team. So it's I'm not. I know they want the hype. They want the Steelers to be good. It's like every year they want the Lakers to be good. They want the Lakers to be good every year. But then the season shows itself, and we're like, yeah, we're right. We're expected to be. We're right where we thought to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to throw my Lakers in there, man.
Look.
Yeah,
LeBron, I'll say LeBron has been playing. I feel like LeBron has been playing harder for Team USA than he's had for LA. The last
Don't lie, that's true.
He's been balling out, man. I gotta give credit. That South Sudan game and the Germany game did his thing. Yeah. So I guess before we get out of here, we're all gonna be at at training camp this coming Friday. This will be my.
Wait, is that this Friday?
This Friday coming up.
Next Friday.
I think. Yeah.
Okay, you scared me. Tomorrow's Friday.
Oh no, not Friday. Not this Friday. Sorry, not this Friday.
All right. I was like, wait. Hold up.
Look, I gotta drive that, but no, next Friday.
Right. Next Friday. Okay, got it.
So yeah, you guys, we're all excited for that. Obviously, this will be my third one. Yeah, hopefully Lamar's there. He's been practicing hopefully for at least 5 days. So at that point, he got his sickness out of his system, and he's ready to go and stuff. So I think it's gonna be hot. He said it's gonna be hot. It's gonna feel like 100 and something degrees out there. So, what are you guys expecting to see? You expect to see much of anything, or just want to see just like you said, you want to see like these guys have said they changed how they look and how they're running, and just kind of see it in person, I guess, to see if that actually is there.
Yeah, I think what I like to see at training camp for the most part, I like to see the receivers and DBs. I like seeing routes. I like seeing coverages. I like seeing, kind of a preview of the coverages they'll be running, and just seeing if guys can play their guy. Like can TJ Tampa can he stay with our best receivers? Like I'm going to be looking out to see a lot of this route running. It's kind of hard to gauge offensive lines in these practices because it's not really a true indication. It just doesn't really pan out. They can't go as hard as they can't go game speed really. And they also got to preserve these guys because that's all we got. And as valuable as the offensive line is, especially to us this season, it's kind of hard to gauge what they're doing. It is a little bit easier, I would say, with the D-line, just where you can kind of just measure speed and kind of them getting out breaks and things like that on the edge. So I'll be looking for that as well. And obviously, we want to see the show, man. We want to see Lamar put some pinpoint passes on guys. Like we want to see some accurate passing, some deep ball throws. We want to see, just really accuracy. I mean, last season was kind of like full of, we had a lot of overthrows last year. A lot of big plays that were missed just based on just a little bit of details that can probably be perfected in this offseason. So, number one, obviously we're going to see Lamar and just kind of, what he's bringing to the table this early in camp. And Derrick Henry obviously, but there's so much you can see. I mean, he's going to run the ball, no one's really going to hit him. But it'll be good to see in person either way. But that's what I usually like to see in camp. I just want to see kind of bits and pieces of the playbook, what type of packages they're running, and the real work, like I said, that I usually see that's usually full speed every time is that receiver work and DB work. So I'll be there watching that part closely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in line with you. I think the last 2 years I've gone, 2 years ago, I think what I went to look at was really just Isaiah Likely and Kyle Hamilton, and they gave me a show. Isaiah Likely just destroying Kyle Hamilton over and over and over again. So that gave me, I remember like messaging y'all then and like, hey, Isaiah
Word.
Likely is looking like
I
that
remember that.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
last year was Brandon Stevens. Brandon Stevens showing up against these receivers, jamming guys at the line, throwing them out of bounds. Um, just showing us what he could do. And then we saw a big year come out of that. So yeah, I'm definitely looking at the receivers and the corners, the tight ends versus the safeties. I want to see how Eddie Jackson fits in, how they may use him, where they're putting Kyle Hamilton, because I think, how they use Kyle Hamilton and how they use Marlon Humphrey is going to be a big indicator of what our defense looks like, because they're the two like Swiss Army knives. Because you have like Marlon Humphrey can play outside, he can play the slot. Same with Kyle Hamilton, he can play he can play deep safety, he can play up in the box, he can play in the nickel. So I'm really curious to see that. I want to see how the edge rushers do, but usually when you go to these camps, most of the practice they send the edge rushers on the far field so you can hardly see them. But when they go full team, I want to see Owe. I mean, I don't. I mean, I want to see a Jabo, but I really want to see Owe. I really want to see if the hype is real, and how he's looking. I'm expecting Matabuke, to still be strong. But I really want to see how Owe looks. I mean, he's probably the most important piece to our defense as far as guys that need to take the next step. Um, and like you said, Trey, I want to be able to see Lamar that he's taking even another step, where he's just I want to see him be a top 3 passer, not just a top 3 quarterback, but a top 3 passer. So I want to see that he's continuing to grow there. I want to see the evolution of this playbook. So I can see that we're taking that next step forward offensively. I just want to see energy, man. That's what I really come to see, with the team's energy, because last year there was an aura in training camp and we saw that manifest with a really good season. I want to see if the energy is there for a Super Bowl run from jump. I want to see how hungry these guys are, how fed up they were with that AFC Championship game and the heartbreak of that, and that they're putting that towards a special season. So that's what I'm looking at.
I got a feeling that a defense is going to be especially juiced up under Zachary Orr,
Yeah.
under this first season.
Yeah.
I think they're going to bring the juice this year.
Yeah.
But especially them saying, already saying they're going to take a step back. They expect them to take a step down because Mike McDonald's not there. And then, like, I'm pretty sure that's going to hype them up a little bit. Like, but they think y'all lost a step. They think y'all, like, not as good as y'all all last year. It's like, wait a minute. Like, coaches are good and everything, but there's still players on the field that make plays.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. And like you guys were saying, definitely want to see, like, something with Likely and Andrews on the field together, and Lamar throwing. They've got plays for both of them. They can utilize them both on the same field. Seeing some deep the accuracy from Lamar as far as the deep throws are concerned, we saw for the last few years. That's been the one thing I think we wish that was better, is that he can start just getting those things on point. If he can start nailing those, like those wide open deep throws, like, man, this offense can go so far. So if he can start getting that together, that'd be great. I'd like to start seeing it, see if they can get Zay more involved in underneath stuff, not just the stuff like deeper to the corner, like jet sweeps and stuff on like the little like toss passes. Just get him involved in the game more. And letting him, like, necessarily to run 20 yards down the field and catch the ball, but get the ball at the line of scrimmage and let him go, let him do his thing. So that would be good. Like you guys said, yeah, seeing the secondary do their thing. It's probably one of the deepest secondaries they're gonna have, and they've had in a long time. I remember a couple of years ago, I think was it last season or season before, we were like, I don't know if we lose one corner, we're gonna be stuck. Like, we got to a point we're gonna lose one corner, we're stuck. And now I think right now with Armour Davis and TJ Tampa and Stevens and a lot of those other guys, like they're pretty deep at secondary right now. So it's gonna be fun to see, like you guys said. I hope that there's a mission. Like, they feel like there's like we got to finish this. Like, Lamar's coming in, like Munkin and them hopefully have talked and gotten stuff together. Like we're not having this running 6 times in the AFC Championship game and losing the game because it's not because they beat us, it's because we lost the game. The Chiefs
Right.
didn't beat us, we lost the football game. And I think that's what hopefully they're focused on. Like, you know what? And Lamar gets in his head, like, you know what? I'm going to play my game this year. Forget all the pundits, forget all the talk, forget all the, hey, he's not a real quarterback. And all. That doesn't matter. Win football games. Right? We already know you're going to get a gold jacket at this point. You got 2 MVPs. Go get that ring. Once you get that ring, they can't say nothing. So I'm like, go get you one. And yeah, I'm just excited to see what, goes, happens next Friday. And then we'll come back on here and tell you guys what we saw. But until then, thank you guys for watching. And we'll catch you guys next week and the rest of the season. Peace.
Peace.